What's happening, weirdos? This is the wonderful, hilarious, talented, engaging Chris Sullivan, who you may know from This Is Us as the character Toby Damon, for which he was nominated twice for a Primetime Emmy. Incredible. He's so wonderful. He's an improviser. He's like down with not even almost, with everything we talk about on this podcast. So it was a real, did we just become best friends kind of chat. I'm so glad you guys are here. Check him out on social. Check him out on The Nick. Check him out on This Is Us. He's incredible. Just check him out in general. And if you'd like to see me, I am on tour. I'm in LA. Once a month, go to largo-la.com. In fact, I will right now. September 26th is the next one. It was so fun last month. Thank you to everyone who came. I'm working out a new hour, lots of new material. Hope to see you there. Go to largo-la.com. If you want to see me doing the hour that is before this new material that I'm working on, but will still be new to you, meaning it hasn't been filmed or aired anywhere, I'm going to be in Buffalo, then Milwaukee. I'm going to be in Minneapolis at the Pantages Theater, and then Denver back at Comedy Works. Go to PeteHolmes.com for tickets to all of those. We're also going to be adding Portland and Seattle, so keep an eye out for that. Will also be on PeteHolmes.com. All right, everybody. I'm so glad you're here. Hair by Modern Mammals, modernmammals.com/weird, and enjoy the episode. Get into it. There's a real relief in actually liking your sponsor, and I'm so glad you're drinking it, because when the guest declines that.
One of the things I'm going to make weird here is, I am, maybe other than Ryan Hurst, your biggest fan.
Oh my Jesus! Ryan came to mind as I came in, because I was like, this is an actor, like a celebrated actor, who's done voiceover and theater and film and television, and is a fan of the show, who I don't know very well, but I'm being real, not just kind of trying to manufacture rapport. Have a strange feeling that we're going to get along like gangbusters, and I had that feeling with Ryan as well.
I agree. Right? Our lives have we've traveled parallel to each other, and I'm surprised.
Is that right?
I'm surprised that we've never met.
Well, I was in Chicago.
My career started in Chicago.
Yeah,
I knew Kumail.
What?
I knew. I used to host a burlesque show with Jared Logan and T.J. Miller.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
I saw
Where?
At the Lakeshore Theater.
Oh my God, burlesque and comedy.
Listen,
aren't they funny?
Yeah.
I think there's something so funny about how burlesque sort of sidled up to comedy, or comedy sidled up to burlesque. And it goes way back, obviously. There was like Lenny Bruce doing stand-up in between burlesque acts, and because they were both at one time kind of theater of the perverse.
Sure.
Like eroticism and a guy saying fuck and like, whoa.
Right. And maybe the comedy doesn't make you feel as dirty for being there.
I think the comedy, you do need to lighten it up.
Yeah, you're like, I'm here for the comedy. This is all fine, but...
Totally.
It's all
the
great.
articles in Playboy. I'm not even trying to be funny. The articles in Playboy help you. That's a element.
Oh yeah.
I'm fasting today, so this is life
number 2.
blood.
Let's get through them.
DrinkElement.com/weird. Magicmind.com/weird.
What I'm saying is, I've purchased from every single sponsor you've ever had. I try it. I trust you.
Do you want some Alpha Brain?
Listen, let's do a quick. Let's do a quick beard wash.
Beard wash.
Why not?
Pube wash. Get that lustrous pube.
Yeah.
Oh, where were we? I wanted to say this about burlesque, just to see, and because we're not going to forget to talk about Chicago and how we feel like our lives are parallel, which is going to be great. But I always felt, as a repressed religious boy, who still, if I see a lady's bra strap, I'm like, like I'm a little. I've said many times, I'm like the repressed people. I don't mean overly like damaged, traumatized. Sure. I just mean like, if you grew up thinking that sex was kind of like forbidden, it makes it more exciting.
Yes.
If you grew up like on a commune and everybody was naked, it's going to be literally less titillating, no pun intended.
Right.
So when I would go to burlesque, because I'd be doing comedy on a burlesque show, and it was like funny, like the girl would come out dressed like Barney the dinosaur or something. Right. I was like, sure.
Yeah.
But this is hugely erotic. like I'm glad that you're doing it to like an ironic song.
Also, stay in your lane.
There might have been a little stay in the lane.
I didn't care. You have pasties on under your shirt just for fun?
The pasty phenomenon, I was just like, Again,
It's all legality, right? It all goes back to the old laws about what you can show and can't show, right?
it does. Pasties. Where's that doc? The pasty doc.
It starts here.
The nip slip doc.
It starts today.
But I remember women that do burlesque tend to be more, and this isn't that kind of show. Nobody's tuning in to hear my, what does it for me.
No, go
but
on.
The women that do burlesque tend to be more real bodied. And this is not virtue signaling. That is just always going to be my cup of tea over.
As compared to who? Who would you?
Just like more the athletic, typical stripper, erotic dancer.
Sure.
I don't think you say stripper anymore.
I don't know if they'd mind. Do they mind? Call right now if you mind.
Look, if I type in stripper into my phone, 30,000 contacts come up. So I've had a whole thing. No, I'm just kidding.
You've been on the road a lot.
I'm on the road.
Listen.
No, I've never been anything but flaccid in the strip club. I can't. It's fake.
It's a bizarre place.
The theater, you were in Hadestown, which I saw. I didn't see you in Hadestown.
No, you saw it on Broadway?
I saw it on Broadway. Forgive and forget, but I'm so taken that you were in that.
Yeah.
How cool.
Yeah, the original workshop of it down at New York Theater Workshop, I did and left. I had to leave 2 weeks early from that to start filming This Is Us.
Oh, wow.
And so the play was, or the musical was.
Wait, you didn't get to do it with an audience? Or you
did? I did.
Okay.
The when I say workshop, I mean the original production.
Yeah.
Downtown. But the future of it was kind of up in the air, and they didn't know where they were going to go with it, and it traveled around a bunch, and it was one of the more. I mean, obviously everything worked out. This Is Us was a huge blessing in my life.
Yeah.
But it was one of those.
This is Dave Coulier, not exactly the same, but about to be on SNL.
Really?
And then he did Full House instead.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think he didn't get it. And I think he was bummed, or it might have been even more similar that he did get it, and then he passed to do Full House. I think it's the first one, actually.
Yeah. But Hadestown still has a big piece of my heart. It's
so cool. Have you seen it on Broadway?
Yeah.
It's great,
I saw it in early previews.
When you did it have the swinging lamps?
Yes.
That's the end of Act 1, right?
Yes.
I really want to note, just for theater fun, close the show on that. That was the coolest thing that happens. Yeah. The second act can't follow the first act.
When I saw it, the turntables and the lifts and things weren't working.
Really?
Yeah. And the
you were robbed.
The director, Rachel Chavkin, was so upset, and I honestly didn't know.
Notice.
Yeah, I didn't notice.
No, it's a great show with great music, and it's super fun.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know Hadestown, it's Persephone?
Orpheus and the story of Orpheus and Eurydice.
So you get the fun of feeling like, I know Greek mythology.
That's right.
You know what I mean? You really do get
That's
you're Hermes. And you get the I know about spring and the myth of spring.
Well, it's a bit like Titanic, because if you know anything about the story, you know how it's going to end. You know.
Right.
And so how do you suspend people's interest and keep the stakes high?
With swinging lanterns.
With swinging lanterns.
And a very deep voice.
Answer.
The guy that I saw playing your part was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Had a very, 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 very deep voice.
Yeah.
You have a deep voice, but he had what the fuck's up with this guy?
Yeah.
You probably know what I'm talking about.
I can't remember his name. The guy who won the Tony? When did you see
Did he win a Tony?
Did you see the original guy?
Tony sounds like a fake award, I'm going to say.
It does.
I won a Tony.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
And you would think that it's named after an Anthony.
It's
but
not.
It's an Antoinette.
It's an Antoinette. Okay. Yeah. Now I like it more.
Yeah.
Now I like it more.
Now he's back on board.
All right, we'll go back. I do want to talk about your experience in theater, being in Chicago and all of that stuff. But let's start at the start and then take it away. My name is Simpson Bartholomew J. Do you know that song?
It's been a long time.
That's Bart with an art and a capital B, and Simp plus S-O-N. That's me.
The Bartman?
It's the Bartman.
It's the Bartman.
Introductions aside, let's move right along. I can still go.
Go.
We can all move. You can all sing along at the sound of the gong. Once upon a time, about a week ago, all of a sudden, trouble started to grow. That's where it falls off. That's a weak rhyme.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Yeah.
And then buzz was buzzing. I was supposed to be snoozing, but I was refusing to let reality become an intrusion. Because in dreamy dreamland, I was cruising, but the buzz kept buzzing. It gets worse. It starts really strong.
And do the Bartman.
Then you have to do the Bartman.
Which is?
I mean,
like a bastardized Roger Rabbit?
Did Roger Rabbit have his own dance?
The Roger Rabbit?
The Roger?
Yeah.
Was it?
There's a dance called the Roger Rabbit.
Is it this?
No, it's the...
No, that's Pee-wee.
This one?
Oh,
this one?
yeah.
You remember that one.
See, when I saw you in Hadestown, I saw you moving, and you're a big old fuck.
I'm a big old fuck.
And I liked that you could move. It made me really proud of you, and I don't even know you.
Thank
I was
you.
like, this guy's going for it, and you knew the only way to not look stupid is to do it.
To do it.
To
commit to it.
Is that a big philosophy of all of your performing? Don't let me lead you there, but it seemed like that's what you were doing. It's like, come on.
Yeah, to go for, to again, stay in my lane, to figure out that I'm not a dancer.
Yeah.
But I can move, I know my body well enough to move it appropriately in a given situation.
Yeah.
At least when it comes to theater and things like that.
Did someone tell you those? Is there a choreographer?
Yeah, full choreography.
Great.
That's something I started in college back at, I went to LMU here.
Okay, fine.
And we had a movement class for actors.
Yeah, this
where
stuff
all of the
always made me want to run so far from acting.
Yeah.
Any walking around the room pretending you're an animal or you're a fucking fried egg.
Yeah.
And the fucking actors that were like, and then I flipped myself over. I was like, eat every piece of shit you can find. I can't. I was like, I got into acting. I really want to hear your comment on this.
No.
To smoke a cigarette at a bar and be like, well, that's absolutely right. Like Ed Harris in Glengarry Glen Ross. That's what I want to do. I can't see Ed Harris being like, I'm an orangutan. I can't see it. I want to be cool, motherfucker.
I mean, there's a certain vulnerability exercise early on that's essentially just trying to get people to get over their egos, right?
Right. And you could do that
then, but now,
harder.
If somebody tried to, I've thought a friend of mine runs a couple of classes that are very in body, and I'm like, I want to take a class. I want to get back in touch with learning, but I don't think I can. I think my ego is a little too
We've
big.
built up the Burning Man too hot, too high, too tall, and we refuse to light it.
Yeah. And so it's I'm a long ways from my animal work days.
But you could do it.
Improv exercises.
See, because you dancing in that one scene that I saw, not a lot of online footage of you in Hadestown, but what I found, which I thought was awesome, is also a person who's getting over themselves. And could you talk a little bit? This is just so indulgent for me, but let's explore that. You have Al Pacino in Dog Day Afternoon or whatever. You have him being like, you know, he's being wild and big, but like, that's cool. It's fucking cool.
Sure.
Or you have Phil Hoffman in Magnolia. It's fucking cool and it's grounded and it's small. And the way to those roles was a lot of like rolling around on the ground or like pretending you're a plant, like a house plant, or doing a monologue that's wrong for you. And that's like the point. Can you talk about the body work of banging all these dents out before you smooth it out and become cool, like Joaquin Phoenix? Like Joaquin Phoenix pretended to be a giraffe. I can't see it.
I mean, it's got to be similar. It has to be similar to what your process on stage doing stand-up. Your early days of working things out in front of people and going way too far and pushing way too hard and trying on other people's voices and other people's rhythms and other people's...
The difference, though, is every choice you're making as a stand-up is shrouded in self-protection.
This is me.
But also just like manipulation, like this will be effective and I'll look cool.
Right.
Like the big risks, like nobody was going on stage, or very few people were going on stage and being like, what's up, everybody? Like trying something real. And theater really feels like they want to break you first.
There is a history of that. There's a history of wanting to break down the quote unquote ego before you can build it back up. I'm not a fan of it. I have never studied that way.
The whiplash kind of humiliation.
Yeah, totally. Those old school New York schools of making someone cry in front of the class.
Yeah.
Really like, or
can you imagine?
Or exposing their childhood abuse or whatever the thing is.
Right.
I mean, it's very like Barry, at the beginning of Barry.
Yeah.
Where they think that kind of exposing themselves in that way is going to get them to some deeper truth.
I don't know.
I don't know either. It's not for me. Like,
isn't life humiliating enough? Why do I have to do it in front of a guy in a scarf?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't understand. Why are
He's
you
just
doing
preparing
this to
you
me?
for people who go to the theater, I guess.
That's true.
There's going to be 700 of these people sitting in the house.
That's so true.
There's a quote that I heard in college that I was like, that's me, and it was essentially an actor evokes an emotional response from their audience using calculation and craft. Anyone who depends on feeling the part frequently falls short.
Wow, who said that?
Is Diderot.
I love it.
And I was like, that makes more sense to me.
That's so... Ooh!
Because
what a good one. That's a good one.
If you have to cry or achieve a certain emotional moment over and over and over and over and over again, this is what people don't understand is like when you're on set, yeah, you see one shot of this thing.
Yeah.
And then it's been done 7 times from 4 different angles.
Yeah.
And
I just did something, by the time we were doing the wide or something, I couldn't do it anymore. I was like, you're going to have to use the close. Like, I just couldn't do it anymore.
And I've seen people, I've learned so much because this is not the type of stuff that anyone teaches you where, all right, we're moving in. Okay, come in with the spearmint stick or the eye drop.
Yeah.
And that's good enough.
Yeah.
That's enough. You don't need to like
talk about
wring
ego.
your soul out.
It's your ego. Yeah. What is that story? I wish I could remember who it was. It doesn't matter. It's folklore anyway.
Yeah.
Master actor, new actor.
Yes.
And in the scene, they're playing like they've been captured. They're like prisoners of war.
Yes.
And one of the young actor, they're both prisoners of war. The young actor starves himself for 3 days.
Yeah.
So he looks weak.
Yeah.
And after they shoot the scene, he like faints. They get it, but he's like fainting. They got to get him on an IV. And the master actor looks at him and goes, "Have you considered acting?"
Yeah. Exactly.
And I was like, "But you've really stepped in something I love." Because especially as a comedian, the shows where I get off stage and I'm like, I hated it. And Val's like, "What are you talking about?" And it's taken me hundreds of times of realizing that I'm wrong. So much of my life is trying to go like, don't forget you might be wrong.
You're wrong about hating it?
That it was a bad show.
Oh, got it.
I get off stage and I go, that was a bad show. And Val's like, I literally saw a guy falling out of his chair and people were crying.
Right.
And I realized it's my ego. I didn't feel elated from it.
Sure.
And what you're saying is, who fucking cares?
It's none of your business.
It's none of your business. You are in a serving position.
Yes.
You are there for them, and I'm not even fully over it. But I'm 45 now. I can do a show, be miserable, but do my job and get off and be like, that was a good thing that happened.
Yes,
me and the crowd made comedy tonight, and that's always good.
Yeah,
but like say it again. Would you say the quote again? It's like through technique,
through calculation and craft.
I mean,
not through feeling the part themselves.
I'm so with that.
I am with it too. Now, don't get me wrong. You see people like a Daniel Day-Lewis who goes somewhere. Like he disappears and this other person shows up.
Yeah.
And people want to poo-poo him staying in character all day long on set.
So lazy, yeah.
But the amount of work that it would
lazy
take,
to make fun of him, by the way. I'm not saying what he's doing is lazy. He's the opposite of lazy.
Hot take.
Yeah, hot take.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Lazy.
What a hack.
Put your back into it, man.
But the amount of effort that it would take for him to like drop everything and have a conversation with you about how your kid's doing at school.
Yeah.
And then to get himself back to a place when it's time to start shooting.
Right.
Is not worth.
Yep. The gear shift. I relate to that so hard. I'm a real one thing guy. I want to do one thing.
Sure.
And you can really fuck me up by having me, let's say, do comedy and then go to a birthday party with my daughter. That's never happened.
Yeah.
But if there was a midnight birthday party, really difficult for me to shift that gear. And I'd rather just not shift it.
That's right. And most actors are delivering some version of them, some heightened version of themselves. There are very few actors, in my opinion, who become someone else.
Yeah.
Your Gary Oldmans or your whoever it might be.
Well, that's why I feel when you have a show like This Is Us, I'm over here. Parenthood is another one of those ones where I'm just on the. You tell me if I'm wrong. I'll be heartbroken if you didn't love it. And I'm sure it was a long time, so I'm sure you had lots of different feelings. But I'm like, oh, that's sweet. That's fun. Playing somebody, and you correct me where I'm wrong, that's not too far from you with an ensemble about like kind of about modern life.
Yeah.
I'm like, that seems pretty sweet. I've always watched those shows and been like, that seems nice. So tell me.
Yeah, it was. No, the kind of the level at which we loved each other is kind of statistically impossible.
The cast.
Yeah.
That's so fun because it was a hit.
Yeah.
I guess we could say it is a hit the way people watch TV now. It's a hit.
Yeah.
People probably say, is there going to be another season to you all the time?
Still, all the time.
Yeah.
Because who knows?
Yeah.
I'm not saying... No, I'm not saying anything.
Oh.
I'm not saying anything.
Oh. This will be us?
The point is, like, I think part of the reason the show was such a hit is that you saw that many people actually loving each other.
That's so great.
And enjoying each other's work and
that never happens.
Being glad to be at work.
There's so many, you know, the cliche, if the cast hates each other, the show will be a hit. Like I did a show, it ended up getting canceled, but we loved each other.
Yeah.
And they were like, this is horrible. We're going to be canceled. So you had the opposite. I mean,
Are you talking about Crashing?
No, not Crashing. Crashing was not an ensemble, so it was always a different show.
Right.
Like I really,
sure.
I wouldn't change a thing, but I didn't really get the feeling of like me and my cast.
A group.
It was maybe Artie, but even Artie was like
that's true.
Less and less. Yeah. But when we were doing How We Roll, the CBS multicam that I did, I think I can speak for everybody and say we were the happiest crew and the happiest cast. And Shai McBride was like, we're doomed. Because he's like, if we hated each other, we would be a 9-season show. And I don't know. You hear those rumors like, I say this all the time, but Scarlett Johansson and Bill Murray hated each other on Lost in Translation. And there's something about that like friction, disdain that creates something magical.
Sure. And people can't put their
you can't touch
finger on it. Yeah.
I say this all the time too, but like how perfumes have a low note of something disgusting.
Yeah.
And we like that.
Yeah.
We want there to be something kind of off about it.
That's what he whispers to her at the end.
Yeah, he's like,
Go fuck yourself.
I fucking took a shit in your trailer and I didn't. People don't know this, but what Bill Murray is whispering to Scarlett Johansson is, I took a shit in your trailer and didn't flush it. Enjoy the aroma, you fuck. Yeah. And then he moonwalked away. They didn't use that take, but he did moonwalk away.
Yeah, they had to switch that part
They switched it. Body double.
Yeah.
That's actually Bill's brother.
Yeah, that's why they turned around. Yeah. It was Brian. It was Brian Doyle.
Can I say something? I've never cared what he said.
No, because it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
To me,
what matters is what you think he whispered.
And that he whispered.
Yes.
I completely agree. There's a parallel. I'm not even going to make the effort to try to make it, but it's like literalism and like mythology. It's like, I want to know what he said. Why? So you can whisper it to your girlfriend and have real love?
Yeah.
The whole fucking thing is not knowing what we whisper to beautiful women. That's the whole fucking thing. All right.
I shit in your trailer.
So I shit in your trailer, ScarJo.
What if that worked?
What if he whispered, you're going to date an SNL clown man?
No. One of the actors? No, one of the writers.
What? She perks up. One of the cast?
Head writer.
Head writer.
Yeah.
She's like, no. She's like,
my fate.
What's that?
My fate.
Yeah, he whispered her fate.
Yeah.
Colin Jost, no shots fired. You're great. Jost.
God, he's great.
He knows. His book is called, he knows he's fun to make fun of. Too.
Yeah. Punchable face, is that what it is?
That's what I'm saying. And once you date Scarlett Johansson or marry her, right?
Yeah.
Come on. We got to get a shot.
He says, go for it. Whatever you want.
That's right. He goes, whatever you want.
Whatever you need to do.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. All right. We're on your story. We have a lot of irons, but it's all good. You started in Chicago. You knew Kumail. You knew TJ. You knew, who was the other one?
Jared Logan.
Jared Logan. I've been watching, my algorithm figured out I like Jared Logan.
Yeah.
So I've been watching a lot of Jared lately.
His rhythms are great. So your timeline I've never figured out. Boston, then Chicago, then New York?
Boston, this is very sweet. People love remembering. So I'm like, thank you for making me remember.
Yeah.
But I, in college, did stand-up in Boston probably 6 times.
Okay.
Not very much. Not enough to count it.
And what took you to Chicago? Friends.
What you did. I wanted to do Improv Olympic.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted to do Second City.
And you did?
And I had no friends.
I had no friends.
I had no friends either. Real young person stuff. I was like, good for you.
I moved there. So I got my career started doing someone else's stand-up.
Tell me. After a word from Modern Mammals. Modern Mammals works on your pubes and your beard. So don't give me this I don't have hair thing.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up and modern your mammal.
There's always hair to wash.
Perfect.
Modern Mammals.
Perfect.
There's always hair to wash.
Oh my God. Shut up. You got leg hair? Wash it. We're for everybody.
Softest back hair in the business.
There's no product in that? How do you get it to stand up so perfectly? Go ahead.
In the you've heard of the comedy boom of the 1980s.
Yes, comedy boom.
There was
the first bubble, we call it. We're still in the second bubble.
Yes, there was a comedian named Rob Becker, who, as clubs were closing and boom was fading, he decided to write a one-man show called Defending the Caveman.
I know that.
Yeah,
I remember that.
yeah.
It was big,
huge.
Huge.
So he starts in.
It was like the Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
Right
stage
after that.
show.
Right after that.
It was at a time when things could go huge.
Yeah.
I don't think things go huge in the same way anymore.
No.
They
No.
kind of do.
No.
Billie Eilish has an album, goes kind of huge. But in the 90s, if something was huge, everyone knew about it.
And this guy, he wrote it himself. He held on to all the rights. And what he did was all of these comedy clubs that were closing, he said, no, let me do my show there. So he did it in San Francisco. Then he moved it to Dallas. Then he moved it.
Him playing the guy?
Doing this one-man show.
Okay.
90-minute, 2-hour show. And kept a lot of these clubs open for 6 months, 8 months, 9 months at a time. He would do 4 or 5 shows a week. Then he moved. Yeah, then he moved to Chicago, where the Blue Men are.
Yeah.
In that theater on
Marshmallows
Halstead.
flying.
And then from Chicago, it went to Broadway, became the longest running one-man show in Broadway history.
Wow.
And when I graduated college...
Suck it, Birbiglia.
Yeah. in 2002...
Mike Birbiglia's show is called Defending the Guy Behind the Caveman That Just Gave Up Their Position While Hunting. With a sneeze, because he's allergic to something in the brush. That's Birbiglia's show. Look, if all the cavemen had been
for 2 weeks.
Birbiglia, we wouldn't be here.
This is the point. Some people are hunters and some people are gatherers.
Yeah.
And so when I graduated, I was hustling around LA trying to get work and saw this non-union ad for something called Defending the Caveman, sent in my audition tape.
Scene from the show to audition?
Yeah. And did a call back at what is now Largo, what used to be the Coronet.
No way.
In that little bar that's now the bar that they have used to be a 99-seat black box theater. Now it's the cafe up front.
Wait, you're talking about modern Largo?
Yeah.
The Largo now?
Yeah, Largo now.
So you're in the small room.
So in the small room.
Wow.
Doing my callback. And then they hired me and another guy and paid us each like $5,000 to memorize the whole thing, which was like 85-page monologue.
Wow.
Gave us 3 or 4 months.
Word perfect?
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Gave us 3 or 4 months to memorize it. Then flew us both to San Antonio, where he was touring the show. And we stood on stage in the huge theater in San Antonio, 2,500 seat, 2,000 seat something or other, with him and his road manager.
Shut up.
Sitting in the middle of the orchestra.
Is the road manager smoking with sunglasses?
Pretty much. Pretty much.
And this guy's being handed like a perfect temperature latte. Like something just perfect.
Oh yeah, they're bringing more likely a sandwich.
A sandwich.
Like a hoagie.
Oh, he was. So it wasn't like a strapping. Yeah, calling you strapping. Wasn't like an alpha man.
No, he was your every guy. He was a dad. He was a dad. You know.
Here I'm thinking like, oh yeah, they probably wanted like another super soldier.
No. I'm. It's a. I mean, at the time I was 23, passing for 30, and still in my drinking days. So I had a nice cushion. A nice softness. To the curves. I was more curvy back then.
Yeah. Thicker milkshake.
And thicker milkshake. And we literally got on stage and they just said, "Go ahead."
I'm dead.
Buddy, it was the hardest thing I've ever.
You had to do the whole thing?
The whole thing. 90 minutes, 2 laughs, because they've obviously seen it before. And a couple of times I got them with something. A different take or a different whatever. But 90 minutes.
Dead. I'm dead.
That night they offered us both the gig.
Oh, you both got it.
We both got it so that we could split the road.
And that other man was Hugh Jackman.
That's right. That's right.
I understand.
And so I ended up doing the show. I ended up doing the show for like 4 years. Over 1,000 performances all around 36 states.
What's the first line? Hard.
So my best friend, a couple years later, I ended up getting a job doing the same show. Saw him yesterday. I was like, I couldn't do 2 minutes of that show.
Yeah, no.
It's
It's the sort of thing that would show up in a psychedelic trip.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Like you'd see the tablets. I remember this.
Yeah.
Or a dream.
Yeah.
We could just say a dream.
Yeah.
I bet
It
you could
opened
do
with
it in
like
your
a
dream.
caveman poem. I think it was you come out and you look at him and you just go, "Thank you very much." No claps. That was my my caveman poem. Thank you very much.
Good.
And then
Nice.
off you go.
Off you go. Wow.
But yeah, so as my kind of theater mentor said, it was those years were like my PhD in stage time.
I know what it is. Yeah, absolutely. It's the Beatles playing in Germany.
That's right.
Yeah, you got to get those hours.
Fucking 300-seat theaters
Yeah.
to 2,500-seat theaters
Wow.
to, doing the whole first hour without getting a single laugh.
Whoa.
Like really missing the audience and trying to pushing too hard and then pulling back and then trying to get them and not finding them. And
That's amazing. If you're doing a monologue that you know is a hit and it's not working and you're like, oh, it's me.
yeah.
And you actually said it exactly how a stand-up would say it, which is like name drop. I've known Bill Burr long enough that it wasn't a name drop back in the day. But I'm not even. Anyway, I guess that was a name drop and a brag. Yeah. But I opened for him and I just did very, very poorly. And he was really chill, really nice. Like he acknowledged it without shaming me.
Sure.
And he just went, it was like this. You want this. And I've never forgotten that. And sometimes I get off stage and I'm like, oh, I was this.
Yeah.
You're butting up against them. You're pushing. And that's why when I do stand up now, if that's happening, if we're just out of sync, it's like being on a date.
Yeah.
And something's wrong. You got off on the wrong foot. You made the wrong joke.
Yep.
You pulled their chair out. They didn't like that. Or you keep obsessively wiping the table and something's wrong. You need to like slap the table and be like, fuck it, let's start over.
Forget it. Yeah.
Forget it. I'm going to leave and come back.
Yeah.
Or like when I'm not a big fighter, but you're having a fight and it's like, let's start over is such a powerful thing
very
to
helpful.
say.
I've heard you and I've heard Regan talk about
The big yellow one is the sun?
the big yellow one is the sun. The big yellow one is the sun.
The big yellow one is the sun.
I had a real problem touring early on because I was constantly listening to Regan, Gaffigan, and Dane Cook all at the same time.
The three biggest seepers.
Yeah.
Those are three greats.
Yeah.
They'll seep into you though.
My road manager would come every couple of weeks, check out the show, and he'd be like, what are you fucking doing?
Yeah.
I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you need to take out the Cook and the Gaffigan and the Regan.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Anyways.
You don't think they know. But again, that's your
I wasn't
Beatles.
even doing it
Do
on
you
purpose.
Think the Beatles, when they were, so people that, I'm not a Beatles historian, But they had this standing gig in Germany for years before anybody heard about them.
In Hamburg?
I believe so. After the show, free sandwich. But they would play. You're generous. They would play and play and play. And if you think they weren't trying out all their influences, that's of course. And here's my old man alert. I probably say this every time this topic comes up. It sucks that there's no way. Like, your shit goes out now.
Yeah.
The youth of today. It goes on TikTok now. And it's like, we'd do well to have, like, you know, let's take part of Detroit and make it just a commune for artists to fucking fail
in
faster.
private. But in private.
Privately and quickly.
I think that's what theater school is for.
And that's what film school is too.
That's right.
Like, it's like, hi, you suck, and you don't even know it.
Yeah, and you're supposed to.
You're supposed to. Yeah, I've been obsessed with Matt Johnson, the filmmaker, and he made all these movies that I admire so much, and they're so interesting. And then he always talks about in film school how he didn't know he sucked, and they just gave you a safe place to make bad movies
audaciously
and not show them to anybody. Yeah. But now you're only going to get the Bo Burnhams. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're only going to get the savants.
Right.
And guys like me that stunk at the beginning. I'm not Bo Burnham. I'm what?
Yeah. But maybe now that everybody's doing it, it's like nobody's doing it. You know what I mean? Like, there's
I
so much.
You're absolutely right.
So now that there's so much of it, it is like failing in private.
You're right.
Because it just gets lost.
Because what was it, 5 seconds?
And then it's gone.
But even succeeding is like, we're back to our original point. Like, you can't have a Defending the Caveman now.
Right.
Sometimes I watch. I'm not on TikTok. Pete is on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok.
Yes.
But my opener, Matt, my dear friend, would show me a TikTok, and I'm like, that's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And it's gone. It's gone. And
even
I'm like,
by the information, I can't figure out who that is. Even by, I'm like,
I couldn't tell you who made it.
That's right, because that wasn't even from their account.
Sometimes
that was the 15th account that posted
exactly
it.
Right.
Yeah.
Or it's a guy playing the bass to it.
Floating in the corner.
Yeah, but he adds his own little bass line, and now it's his video.
Yep.
I'm not even mad at it. It added to it. But you're watching, and you're like, sometimes I'll have a TikTok go viral, and you're like, oh, that's cool. And it's like, is it? I mean, it is. But also it isn't. It was somebody on an airplane saw you for 3 seconds, and nobody went, that's Pete Holmes. I'm going to buy a ticket when he's in Tempe. Nobody gives a fuck. Some of them do, maybe.
I don't know. I don't
know.
The existence of God bit was... People were sending me that bit.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. That one was making the rounds. That's a great. The last special is great.
I really appreciate that. Well, you want insider?
Yeah, I do. That's why I'm here.
We sort of regretted. There's nothing, and I want people to watch my special. It's not about money. There's no bonus for people watching my special.
Sure.
And I didn't really make much money because we produced it. Not a cash gig. It was a passion thing.
Sure.
We didn't put the Netflix logo. You know, like we should have put it at the bottom. We should have put a bumper at the end. Full special on Netflix.
Yeah.
But if we had done that, we would have lost 2 seconds of the bit. Sure. And Jake, who edited it, got everything in.
Sure.
Anyway, who gives a shit? This is boring. You know, we talk a lot about how much I love and swear by talk therapy on this show. It comes up almost every episode. Comes up on the Friday episodes with me and Val every week, for sure. I'm a huge believer in talk therapy. It is greater than the sum of its parts. It can help you with things like codependence, getting out of a bad job, a bad relationship, setting up boundaries with your family, feelings of guilt, shame, inadequacy, all of this stuff. Talking with a trained professional lets the air out, lets the tension out. You can stop pushing that buoyant ball underwater, that stress that you're getting. Let those things out, have them witnessed, and work through them with a trained professional. And the easiest way to do that is with BetterHelp. When we're kids, we're always interested, we're always growing, but sometimes we stop. We stop learning new things. We lose that sense of wonder because the back to school era can go well into adulthood. And therapy can help you reconnect with that sense of wonder, that you can still grow, that you can still evolve and change. And then when you find that you're cleaning out your closet, as it were, you find all of this space for new engagement, new activity, and new growth. It's awesome. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. Support your life and support the show. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. You just fill out a brief questionnaire and you get matched with a licensed therapist. You can even switch therapists at any time for no additional charge and without any awkwardness, so you can dial it in, find that right magical person. It's such a tool, such an asset in my life and Val's life. So give it a try. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/weirdo today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/weirdo. We're also brought to us by our friends at Ritual. You know I travel a lot. I'm currently touring. Ritual multivitamins and the probiotic are the two must-brings with me. I absolutely swear by it. If supporting foundational health was a sport, you would want Ritual on your team. They made Essential for Men, which is a multivitamin that's based solely on science and designed to help fill common nutrient gaps in the diet with 10 key nutrients. As an imperfect vegan, I have some gaps in my diet, and Ritual has filled those. Meaning, this isn't just hearsay. I go to my doctor every year, and once I started adding Ritual to my daily routine, those gaps were absolutely filled. So many people say that multivitamins, you just pee them out. You know, it turns your pee bright green. They're not being absorbed. Ritual has a delayed release capsule, which means it breaks down in your intestines, which is where they can actually be absorbed. So you take it, you feel ready to start your day and feel good knowing that these are 10 key nutrients in the delayed capsules that won't upset your stomach. And it's the optimal place to absorb those nutrients, gentle on your tummy. I fast 2 days a week, which means taking these is no problem. You do that with other ones, you know, you're going to have an issue for real. It's a world-class, traceable multivitamin, and it is essential. It's essential. And Essential for Men is a quality multivitamin from a company you can actually trust. Get 25% off your first month for a limited time. 25% off by going to ritual.com/weird. Start Ritual or add Essential for Men to your subscription today. That's ritual.com/weird for 25% off. All right, back to the show.
That's the show. Defending the Caveman is the show that brought me to Chicago. And I did it for a year at the Lakeshore Theater.
Nice.
It was a theater. Then it became, right after my show, became like a stand-up club.
Yeah, I remember that.
For a year and a half or 2 years.
I was there when Lakeshore Theater I was there in 2001 to 2004.
Okay, so we missed each other. That's why we never ran into each other.
Oh, that's what it was. After I left, everybody was like, Lakeshore Theater, Lakeshore Theater.
That's right, because I got there in 2005 and stayed till 2010 and then moved to New York.
Okay, so that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Tell me, like, I mean, I don't want to move on from the caveman thing. I'm very interested. You're trying on these influences. You have this, like, stagnant, it's like doing lab work. You have a proven piece of thing, and it's you, but you got to play with it so many times.
This is what I was mentioning you and Regan for, was about the music of comedy.
Yeah.
The musicality of it. And which then boils down to the mathematics of it. And it became like a science experiment.
Yes.
And
this goes back to your quote. Which I won't ever be able to get, but like you do it by doing the tricks you've learned.
Yeah.
That's how I say it.
Yeah, exactly.
Acting is
calculation and craft.
Calculation and craft. And that's what gets you through the nights when you don't feel like doing it.
That's right.
And you're in a bad mood.
Because I can develop 5 different rhythms, tempos, pitches, tones, melodies to deliver, let's say, a certain joke. Yeah. And if the 3-4 jokes before that have gone a certain way, then when I get to that one, I pick choice C because I know it goes. You know what I mean?
You're so right.
You know what I mean?
Every joke. Oh, they liked it when I always use this example, but I'm fascinated with when a crowd likes that you're being rough with them.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite shows. It's very rare. It's 1 out of 50. Mm-hmm. This guy comes out that calls them dumb.
Yeah.
And it is like, you dummies. And they love it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, thank you. I really want it to be wicked tonight. And they like it. Uh-huh. No part of me wants to be wicked, and they don't like it. So let's say
you shift all of your moves based on that.
And then if it's not working, you really lit me up here. I'm going to go small. I'm yelling and there's spit and there's veins. It's not working.
Yeah.
Now I'm like almost whispering and they're leaning in.
Yeah.
And you're so right that each joke has 3 ways you could do it.
Yeah.
Add words. They like language. Add words. Do a sillier voice. Sometimes I do a silly voice and the crowd is like, what the fuck is this? Sometimes they're like, what's that? And they're like, yeah! And you're just like, okay, exactly. It sounds a little sociopathic, but if we're honest, I think everybody on a date is looking
for the rhythms. But it's rhythms.
Yeah.
It's rhythm. It's
where are we? What are we together?
Right.
This is us.
That's listen. Thanks for tuning in. This has been You Made It Weird. I tried to work it into the show for years.
The phrase "This
is us," and they would constantly edit it out. I would be in an elevator, which is where most people do it. This is us. This is us right here.
I can't believe you didn't sneak it in.
I did. Edited right out.
Yeah, but I mean, got on the air because that's great. This is us.
Cab driver. We're in a cab. Right here's good. This is us. I mean, there were so many opportunities.
You just have to respect.
They just cut around me every time.
Anthropological analysis of when human beings truly and honestly say, this is us.
That's right.
You found both of them.
That's it. That's pretty much the 2 times. Yeah.
Leave it in.
Yeah.
Out of respect.
They didn't. I at least need it for my reel.
This is us?
This is us.
I mean, I thought you were talking about like a Goofy, like the family's all together, and you're like, this is us.
No.
This is
us. I
like
really tried.
That's
tried.
That's going to get edited.
Yeah.
But if you're in a cab and you go, this is us?
Yeah. I tried. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm dead. Okay, so you did all that. You learned how to.
That goes back to the the bumping instead of the
merging.
The merging, which is if you are the conductor, and you come out and you tap your stick on the music stand, and say, "Here's the song we're playing."
That's right.
If you stumble, and especially early on.
Oh, they lose confidence.
I think. I mean, there's rhythms.
Bill Cosby, horrible person. He had that quote.
Who?
You might know him as Dr. Huxtable.
Oh, yes.
He had this great. Quote. I know, shitty person, bad person. I get it. I'm with it. But he goes, the pilot can't get on the PA and say, I'm going to try to land the plane.
That's right.
And that's a good one. And that speaks to what you're saying. But there's also, what came to mind when you were talking about the conductor? I really feel like the comedian is the bass and the audience is the drums.
Interesting.
Or you could flop it.
Okay.
It sort of feels like we might be the drums and they're the bass. I don't know, but you're trying to sync up. Mm-hmm. And I've said this a million, but that's what makes a heckler. A heckler is like I'm trying to be morphine, bass and drums.
Yeah.
And they're a trumpet.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's Kelly's birthday. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. It's when you have a trumpet player who's a heroin addict.
That's right.
Who's decided this is my solo.
And they woke up.
And the only way to make it not a mistake is to just accentuate it.
That's right. Mm-hmm. I am dead.
And the same thing would happen on stage with Caveman. Was sometimes I'd be doing it. I did it for so long that I would do the show and kind of come to 30 minutes from where I remember last talking.
You were on autopilot.
On autopilot.
I was just going to ask, what was it like doing it so many times? How many years?
Over 4.
That's too many.
About 1,000 performances. That's a lot.
That's 700 too many.
It's a lot.
You can maybe do an hour of material, I'm going to say 300 times, maybe.
Yeah.
For me, and you're not allowed to change it up.
No, not really.
If I'm, as I've been doing my hour for over a year now, and you just infuse a couple new jokes, and it really helps. Yeah. You look forward to those moments, and you play around with the old moments.
Yeah.
And you couldn't do that.
Not really. There were a few tonal things, but it was the words of the words.
Yeah, of course.
And
you also probably don't want it's not your story. I'm not saying you were just a vessel. I'm saying like you have to do the material.
We were talking about this because the original guy was married, and a lot of the things about him and his wife. And so when we would go out on the road and do press, we had to wear a wedding ring. And they made us pretend to be married on like morning radio. We'd make the morning radio rounds.
Wow.
To sell tickets.
It would be really interesting if then you like had that pretend wife be pretend murdered, and like, and you're a pretend suspect, and you're like, I wasn't home, I was on the road, and it's a whole pretend Netflix
and so I had
series.
this woman named Nicole who I mentioned all throughout my show.
I can't believe it, OJ and Nicole.
I know.
That's who I was thinking of, and your fake
know.
wife was named Nicole?
I know. Crazy, right?
What? So you would pretend
Yeah.
to be married to Nicole?
Yeah. Rest in peace.
Right?
Yeah. And so yeah, so it was an interesting, but you know, you finish doing that, and I landed in Chicago, and I decided to stay in Chicago to do Improv Olympic.
Yeah.
And
Improv Olymp. You can't call it ick. Drop that ick.
I-O.
I was like, have some balls. Just fucking throw it in the Olympics face.
Yeah, that's right.
Be like, we're the Olympics.
Yeah, there can be no others. Special Olympics get away with it.
Right? You think that's sanctioned? This is me like saying it's not. It's like a TEDx talk.
Just nobody wants to say anything.
Yeah. No, it's sanctioned. It's real. This was a riff. We're protected by the riff clause.
That's right.
Go on.
And so stayed and did a bunch of theater. Had a theater career going. Chicago back then was affordable enough that you could be a successful artist and
I remember this.
own a home and put your kids through school.
Yeah.
And
It's all those $2 Miller Lights.
seriously,
And the Chicago, I remember my rent was $800 or something.
I lived in my own place for $600 a month.
Yeah.
Like just north of Wrigley Field, like in a nice
Yeah.
neighborhood. So it was
yeah.
like,
Pennies, noodles.
that's right.
It's a good place.
That's right. It's a good place.
Hot pepper noodle.
That's right.
You're familiar with it.
And then, met my wife, Rach, and like 5 days after we got married, moved to New York to do a Broadway play.
What?
Yeah.
You got married and then you got a gig?
We got engaged, and 4 months before we got married, I randomly got this audition for a Broadway play, being directed by Tommy Kail, who had not directed Hamilton yet, but the director of Hamilton, and got cast. And my wife and I freaked out for a couple of months, and because I couldn't not take a Broadway play.
Yeah.
And she had a job. She couldn't quit her job. That was a job, like a real job. And so we were going to get married.
And then there's Nicole.
And then there's Nicole. Who's going to tell Nicole?
Yeah. You ever get in a fight with your real wife and be like, that's it. Call it Nicole.
Call Nicole. You won't believe what she just said.
You do the scene in front of her.
Yeah. You know how men...
So you get this job and your wife has a job. What happens?
Well,
this is big.
We are like really toiling. Like, well, we're going to get fucking married and I'm going to move to a different city 5 days later? That's not...
In the religious community, there's an Old Testament verse about how a man, I believe it's either 6 months or a year, a newlywed man can't be drafted for 6 months or maybe a year into the army. And the modern... I love how Christians are, and I say this with full respect with the Old Testament. We dabble when we like it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff we're like, all right, Old Testament.
Now that's the Jewish part.
That's right. Okay, wink. That's our scripture. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
But when we liked it and it served us, there's lots of good stuff, obviously.
Tons. People love it. People
it's
love
a hit.
it. People love it.
It's a hit. 5,000-year bestseller.
Come on.
That's a hit. In the temple, they're dancing with it.
Yeah, gold pages.
I haven't seen anyone dance with Harry Potter.
That's right.
Nobody's dancing. There's no scrolled
Not
version.
in a church.
Facts. But people would go like, so after you get married, you shouldn't have to like go on the road or leave each other for 6 months or a year. And I remember feeling that way too.
Yeah.
So you're in this situation.
Yeah, and out of nowhere, there he is. Out of nowhere, my wife gets a call from her boss. It was like, hey, I need you to do some interviews. We're essentially hiring your position in New York. So if you can interview some people. And she was like, well, the job is filled. I'll take it. And she hired her own replacement. And we literally 5 days after we got married, got in the car and drove to New York. Stopped in Punxsutawney on the way.
Another Bill Murray reference.
And had a we're like, if we keep driving, we'll get into New York at 3 a.m. and we don't want to do that. So we should stop somewhere. We keep seeing signs for Punxsutawney. And I'm like, well, if we're going to stop anywhere.
Ned?
For our honeymoon.
Ned Ryerson?
Ned Ryerson? Ned Ryerson?
If you're not laughing, you're under 30. It's from Groundhog Day.
We pulled off. We pull into town. We look for the biggest, nicest looking hotel, which is right there on the square. And we walk in, and there is currently a wedding happening on the top floor, and there's a missing child. And the entire wedding party is running around the lobby screaming this child's name.
Oh, my God.
Child was hiding under a table. Child's fine.
Yeah.
We walk up and we say, we'll take your most expensive room, please.
Yeah.
And for $109 a night, we got the presidential suite at the Punxsutawney Hotel.
Wow.
Which had not one, but 2 full-size beds.
Like the way a normal hotel has 2 beds? Or was it
like
a suite?
Like we'd walked in to the Dick Van Dyke Show. And considering my size, we used both beds. I mean, what were we going to do? We're going to gotta use both beds.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, and then spent 6 years in New York before coming back here.
I'm dead. I'm loving that because this is a really strong parallel between the two of us. Mm-hmm. Is that my ex-wife had a job in Chicago. She was a teacher, and I didn't have a job. But what the difference is, I just wanted to go to New York.
Right.
That's even less. I don't talk shit about my ex-wife, but to say something deliberately nice, not just nice by implication.
You want me to do it?
Yeah, go ahead.
I've met her twice.
You did not.
I know her.
My ex-wife?
Yeah.
No.
I don't.
Foot five. With the hand up.
Go on.
I would have been shocked. Shocked.
This is why I'm here. Pete, the real reason I'm here is she would like you to stop talking about her.
I hope she doesn't feel that way. However, she was imagine your fucking soft, ruddy-cheeked boyfriend who's obsessed with comedy is like, I want to go to New York after he sees the movie Comedian.
Yeah.
And then she did.
Because of Orny?
Well, yeah, I wanted to be Orny.
Yeah.
And I also was just like, my image of New York was I would get on stage and in the back there would be a table in the showroom.
Yep.
So they would be watching the show.
Yeah.
Would be Seinfeld, Orny probably, Mitch Hedberg. Like they would all just be there. God. And as I would walk off and I'd just walk past them, they'd be like, good set. That was great.
High fives.
That set was fantastic. People call it a set, but there was only one of them. Where's the other one? That's a set.
Get back up there.
Get back up there.
Get back up there.
You can't do one thing and call it a set.
Do it again.
You got to do it again. All right, Chuck. He's talking to his bass player.
That's right. Okay, Chuck, let's pick it up.
Pick it up, Chuck. When the jokes go down,
the bass goes up.
Okay, so yeah, I moved to New York, also vulnerable. It's kind of a... Well, I'll say this and you tell me how you relate or don't. Driving into New York, leaving Chicago, full respect, Chicago.
Yeah.
Chicago doesn't scare the shit out of you like New York does.
Yeah, correct.
New York is surrounded by water. There's all these bridges. There's insane traffic.
And
there's
violence.
Like violence. And you experience that?
I mean, just like, I don't even necessarily mean like physical violence. I mean, like it's a violent place. It's a violent place.
Walking to a show, a stand-up show, I would always have an opener. Something would happen. I always remember a guy at an open mic, I wish I could give him credit, was like, this was, post 9, and they had the, if you see something, say something was new.
Yeah.
He was like, if you see something, say something. What could I see that I would report? I just watched a guy arguing with a pack of cigarettes. This is his bit. Is that noteworthy? Yeah. Like, do I call you?
I'd be making calls all day.
It's New York.
Yeah.
Jim Gaffigan said that when he moved to New York. He was like, from Indiana. And he's like, you just walk down the street and you see someone crying.
Yeah.
Like full crying.
Yeah.
Because there's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
You just
nowhere
do it
to hide.
Right there.
Or on the subway sitting across from you.
Yeah, crying.
or someone fully yelling in someone's face.
Or shit.
Yeah.
The first day we got to New York, we were in the park, and it's so darling. We bought these little backpack chairs.
Mm-hmm.
So fucking precious.
Mm-hmm.
And we
This
walked
is you
to
and who?
My ex-wife.
She told you to stop.
I was being nice.
Okay, good.
We walked to Prospect Park. We set them up. Within 10 minutes, there's a sunbathing woman. And it's important. She's a white woman. And then there's this toddler who's black with his father.
Okay.
And the little boy is tearing up the grass. And the white woman tells the black dad to tell his son to not pull up the grass.
Oh, boy.
Didn't go so good.
No.
And not because anybody was unreasonable. It was because like it just led to this very heated debate. This is kind of I think we have some Karen awareness and we have some like privilege awareness or whatever it might be.
Sure.
This was just like pure fucking grossness and it was bad. That was
and one person's in their underwear.
And one person is in their underwear. Yeah. And as we've covered, I'm like
awkward. Yeah. Just fully erect.
It was weird watching the fight. It was weirder being erect.
Hey, you guys are ruining this for me.
The story ended with the child's grandmother coming into the scene and tearing up the grass and going, "What are you going to do? What are you going to do?" It was a spicy pickle.
Yeah.
That was our introduction.
Yeah.
So New York,
Yeah.
way more than Chicago.
Yeah, yeah.
Scary.
Yeah.
Gotham. It's Gotham.
Gotham. Yeah, yeah.
Chicago is Metropolis.
That's right.
This is Gotham.
That's right.
So going in our little Jetta with our stuff.
Yeah.
Parking on the street, the signs. It's just like scary, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was your experience.
And yeah, absolutely. And we couldn't figure out how to plan a wedding and also find an apartment in New York. Because people don't understand finding an apartment in New York is like...
It's like training a dog.
$20,000.
Yeah.
First, last, security, and then the broker fee. It's like...
Fucking forget it.
It's a racket.
You want to talk about privilege? That's privilege. Mm-hmm. I'll lay it down for you to play it down. The fact that I could ask my parents and be like, they're asking for first, last. So it's a 15. I believe our rent was about $1,500.
Okay.
First, last. That's $3. Security, $4,500. Plus
10% of the annual rent or something for the broker fee.
So it's just another one.
Yeah.
So that's $6,000.
Yeah.
Where the fuck do you get $6,000?
So my wife and I moved in with a friend of mine from high school.
That's where you get $6,000. You killed him?
She had a 2-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
We murdered her.
Yeah, of course.
Took both rooms.
You Ripley'd her.
Yes.
You were her.
I mean, she technically stayed in one room.
Physically speaking, she was there, but not there.
No, my wife quickly became a theater widow, where I was gone 6 nights a week.
Oh, no, is that the term?
Because literally, she gets off work and I'm at the theater, and then I'm done at 10.
This is where I would be miming to my camera. I don't have a camera today.
No, you want to step in here?
Just a little too real.
Yeah.
Did you kiss my head? Oh, I thought you went.
But she had my friend Victoria, who I did high school theater with, and they hung out and became best friends and are still best friends to this day.
How fun!
Yeah,
theater widow. I'm still reeling from that.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting community. It's an interesting. Yeah,
community. We're strange, but also like, inevitable. Like, did you feel like this is weird, and it's sort of the only thing not to overly.
No, you're right.
I was like. Going out into the city and doing spots and dealing with other fucking weirdos. Yeah. I didn't even know it at the time, but it just like was right.
Yeah.
I was like, this is right. I like this. I know. You tell me how this played out for theater, but like I knew what was expected of me. I knew how to behave, and I liked watching the other people.
100%. I think I communicated appropriately to Rachel before we got married that my life was going to be unpredictable.
Yeah.
I was like, you have to understand as an actor, like this is going to be, I'm going to do this. It's going to work. That's not that, but there are going to be ups and downs. And
you need to know this is us.
And listen, if there's one thing you need to know is that this right here is us. Just try to work it in.
You did it.
Wherever.
But you did it kind of fast. This is us. Like you did it. You chose C.
C. And And so the thing, I think the thing she had to adapt more to was joining the circus herself, like hanging out with all of those, all of the same people who made that decision for their life.
Yeah.
And now I'm in this community.
Yeah.
And you know how to behave, and it's dinner at 11 p.m. And as much alcohol as you can drink and still perform.
Yeah.
And
before the show?
No, I mean after, like
be hungover.
You don't work until 7 p.m.
Yeah.
You know, so it's
real sailor shit.
It's very similar, like as far as the nature. It's all body and dirty jokes and
well, you guys wear, but as do I, wearing makeup, smoking cigarettes, kissing people that aren't your partner, wearing other people's clothes, wearing fake clothes, and the whole thing hinges on strangers watching you. Yeah, it's a kink.
Yeah.
It's a kink.
It's a kink.
And these guys are weird.
It's the watching.
Offstage.
It's the watching that makes theater.
It the thing.
It makes it theater.
And in Shakespeare's days, you know, there was cross-dressing and all that stuff. And it's like, and of course we'll invite the town to watch. You know what I mean? Like something you would never...
They're not going to believe what we're doing in here.
Right.
Yeah.
And we can't wait to show them.
That's right.
It's so you folded Rachel in.
Well, yeah. I mean, a little forcibly so. Like it was... early on in our marriage, it was very parallel lives. You know, she lived this route and I lived this route, and it took us a long time to like come together. And you know, like I got sober 8 years ago. That's been very helpful.
We're almost exactly the same then. Because mine was...
I didn't want to lay out all the parallels right up front.
Right. Oh, wait, when did I stop? 2010? Is that possible? No. That's not right.
Let's put it this way.
I moved to LA in 2010. I knew 2010 was something. I got sober in 2017.
17 or 18.
Yeah.
I only know this because as I got sober, and you were still smoking and watching Mad Men.
Yeah.
And I was like, this isn't going to last long.
You knew of me?
Yes. I was. Wow. Well, because you have to understand, like, are you in the mood to have your bread buttered?
Where's my
Do you
camera?
want it right here?
Ready? Say that again.
Are you in the mood to have your bread buttered?
Yeah.
I just pull out a tub of
Land O'Lakes.
Was not only did when I found your show at about episode 65.
This show.
Yes. Then went back and listened to all of those in about a month and a half. Oh, wow. And have heard everything since.
Holy shit.
Including the We Made It Weirds, which are very important to me.
Well, then you know, as I say on We Made It Weird all the time, people that love We Made It Weird are my favorites. Because I think that's the purest expression of the show.
Yeah.
Taking away what's happening right now. This is a very classic You Made It Weird to me.
Yes.
Did we just become best friends?
Yeah.
Feeling is, I don't get that with Val, but everything else is 10 out of 10. This is very special is all I'm saying.
No. I agree. It's listening to you two helps me in my life, in my relationship, in my marriage. Yeah. And there's a weird part of the way that I relate to you. Coming here today, I was very excited. I was very nervous. There was a little bit of a "don't meet your heroes" type thing,
like kicking you. Oh, fuck you!
Well, I was like, if this goes
poorly,
you think like I have all these thoughts about how it's gonna go, how it could go, how it should go.
Yeah.
But the idea of listening to your podcast as you have gone through the cycle of order, disorder, reorder.
I just pulled that book off my shelf to reread it. There's a Richard Rohr book that's called Order, Disorder, Reorder.
I know. I know. Pete.
That's like when I said to Stephen Colbert, Christ isn't his last name. It means like isness. And he goes, I know. It's one of the coolest things. Then he went out and hosted a late night show.
But you have to understand, the only reason I know Richard Rohr, Ram Dass, Stephen Mitchell, Alan Watts, is because 8 years ago, my life was falling apart. And as I got sober, I was trying to redefine what it meant to identify a God of my own understanding.
Yeah.
And everything on this show helped me sit.
Wow.
And with that. I had to let go of my relationship with Mark Maron. I had to let go of my relationship with Bill Burr because they were tapping me into a part of my anger or frustration or resentment that wasn't helpful.
Right.
And I really locked in on the show, and everything that you were bringing up was just so helpful to me.
Oh, that's incredible.
Really helpful for me.
I really, 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 really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
It's been, if you know, listening to the We Made It Weird, it's just been kind of like a chunky, funky time for me. So like, I just want you to know that I'm not just going like, always nice to meet a fan. I'm like, that's really, really valuable. And a very precious currency that we can make for one another and that we don't. You know, like it's interesting. So thank you for taking that. So how did that tie into the sobriety? I was interested.
Well, it was one of those things where it's like getting sober isn't just not doing a thing.
That's right.
You have to, if you're in the disorder phase, you have to figure out how to reorder. Yeah. And you need help, and you need guidance, and you need wisdom, and to find, to just find a kindred spirit who just at every turn, I connected with what you were saying, or Ram Dass says, I can't tell you anything you don't already know. I'm just reminding you of things that are inherently true. Right. And that's what listening to your podcast has always felt like for me.
Awesome, man. I love that.
And same with him. You cannot have wisdom. You can only be wise.
Yeah.
Which, your wisdom might not connect with someone else. It might not be what they need.
Right.
Or what they need to hear, or when they need to hear it.
Right.
But for whatever reason, listening to this podcast, I mean, like all along the way, even hearing about your relationship with Valerie and getting to listen to you guys interact, and there's something about the way you interact with her that's aspirational for me. Like, I got so lost.
In what way? Only because I think there's lots of, you got so lost. We'll go back to that.
I mean,
no. Keep going with what you were saying.
I mean, unembarrassed.
Of who I am.
Yeah.
I'm only stepping that out.
No, please.
I promise you not to service my ego.
No.
But Val and I, it's so ordinary. And sometimes when I talk to me, and then when I talk to people, one of the things I'm always delighted with is how she never shames me. That's the thing that I'm like, look.
Even when there's friction.
Yeah,
there's like, okay, can we?
That's right.
Like, even still.
No, Val is
No.
Has this phrase been taken to love guru? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Mike Myers is the love guru.
Yeah.
No, Val's a love genius, as I've said, but she like really loves somebody.
Yeah.
And she really loves me.
Yeah.
And it's such a privilege. And it's not as long as you're not doing this or this. There aren't these like,
no.
I don't know how she does it.
That's clear. It's clear.
And she does it with her friends too.
Yeah.
We'll be hanging out with one of her friends and I'm like, they might say something that I think is dumb. And I hate that I have that electric fence that I go like, well, this person's an idiot.
Yeah.
And Val is just like, no, and she's not doing it like a routine.
Right.
Like a cult leader would.
Right.
Like that, no, that's what's groovy about them.
Yeah.
She really is tickled by people being who they are. Mm-hmm. And she's tickled if I'm like a blowhard or just saying the absolute worst thing completely reflexively, unintentionally. So I
and for years I got so lost in suppressing who I was, pretending to be someone else, using alcohol or drugs or whatever it was to avoid what I was feeling.
Chameleon.
Yeah.
Being a stranger to yourself.
That by the time I got to a certain point, I couldn't even identify what was real and what wasn't.
I'm so with you.
So the whole process of sobriety is like a elimination diet.
Yeah.
Where I just fucking took everything out. All the things that I would normally do.
All the coping.
The
bad coping.
And as much of it as I could.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just now 8 years into sobriety starting to deal with sugar. Which was the original addiction as a kid. But like.
Of course.
Junkie level shit.
You'd get that gulp of a wide mouth Mountain Dew.
Mr. Pibb.
And you're like, yeah.
That's right.
You're like, it pushes everything that you're trying to not deal with away.
That's right.
It's a rush. It's a ride. It's a change.
It's a coping mechanism.
Yeah, it's a coping mechanism.
That becomes a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
That if you don't address it or you don't recognize it, eventually weaves itself into your personality.
And you don't even know
and you're like, which
end?
thread in this fabric do I not need?
Yeah.
But there's something about listening to the two of you interact that's like, it helps me identify maybe what I would sound like or feel like if I was not attached to my embarrassment or my shame. You know what I mean? Which is very helpful.
I'm really not, I'll take credit. You know, I don't struggle with that. I'll be like, you're welcome. It's Val. Like Val is just like that sort of
it's a symbiotic relationship.
It's when they line up.
Both.
Talk about this, right?
Yeah, because you have to be willing to continue to give that.
Right. Well, you know this, that one of my favorite, when Val said she listened to another podcast and she realized that there was no me. It was one of my favorite. No. It was someone else's podcast. Maybe it was another couple.
Got it.
And she was like, I'm embarrassed how much I love this. She was like, I listened to a podcast. It doesn't matter. I don't even know which one it was, where there was no me.
Yeah.
There was no Pete.
Yeah.
And even though there's all of this like spittle and it's stupid and all this stuff, she goes, it's the manure that we grow the orchid in. You know what I mean? It's like, because if it's just, I'm not saying if it's just two Vals, like sometimes you just need, you need a spark. You need something happening. And you see that in all the classic comedy partnerships, comedy duos, and also even just theater. There's got to be that tension.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm Dracula dead and loving everything you're saying. Can I throw into the mix, just because I'd love to hear your take on it, my current withdrawal, and this is hard to talk about, but I realized I got addicted to status. I was like just exactly like a drug.
Yeah.
Exactly like a drug. And I said to Val recently, we didn't say this on the podcast because sometimes I need to take some time to process it before I know how to say it.
Sure.
So this is pretty raw, but it's not that interesting. Meaning
we can edit this out.
No. I just realized I was like, I'm like a spiritual guy. And that means I'll go on like a fancy vacation, but I'll be the nicest guy at the resort. Like that's how I'll like justify it. Like I'm the guy that's like, oh, there's no more talent. It's fine. That was like my way. But I was having my cake and eating it too.
Sure.
Like I was being pampered and massaged and 5-star dining. And like I started to notice that I was like, just like drugs or alcohol, it mattered what zone I was when I was boarding an airplane.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, dude. I didn't even see it happen.
Yeah.
Like it just happened over 10 years.
Yeah.
Suddenly I was like, oh no, the marketing and the very American story of like you are your status. And I've been weaning off of it.
Yeah.
And I don't say that metaphorically. I mean like I went through like withdrawals.
Sure.
And now I'm going like, you can stay at a Holiday Inn Express. Shut the fuck up. You did it for 30 years.
Yeah.
And now I do again. Who cares?
Yeah.
But it took a couple times. It was embarrassingly hard to kind of like, you check into the hotel and you're like, where's my complimentary cucumber?
That's
whatever the fuck it is.
That's right. Do you know a hotel chain that gives complimentary cucumbers?
All the best
Not like
ones.
sliced, but like a whole.
They give you a full cold cucumber.
Hard.
But you know what's funny, man? We're joking. But the stuff they do in the fancy places, a hot towel, no one wants a hot towel. It's not a thing. They made it up.
Yeah.
They made it up to say, we do that in the front of the plane, not the back of the plane.
That's right.
It's bullshit.
Yeah.
It's the same orange juice in the front as it is in the back.
Right. But I'll take a full bath with that towel. I will take a full bath. I won't waste it. I mean,
Thank you.
And when I'm done with the body, that's when I disinfect the arms.
Oh, with the cloth.
Listen.
Real nasty.
Real nasty.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Real nasty.
Real nasty. Real
Can you
nasty.
send this back there? Thanks.
I mentioned it up top, but my hair is done by Modern Mammals. ModernMammals.com/weird. My strategy for years, if I wanted my hair to look just right, was to not wash it. True story, my cat, my friend, and my hairstylist one day was like, Pete, running a comb through your hair is like running it through wet cement. You need to clean it. But I told her, it looks like crap. It looks like dried out hay when you wash it. And you just have to wear a hat for a couple days or just look like crap for a couple days. Not anymore. Modern Mammals is the first non-shampoo shampoo that cleans your hair but leaves just enough of the natural oils in your hair to have it looking perfect, not dried out and fried out. So now, when I want to have a perfect hair day, I wash it. It's completely the opposite. If I want to look perfect for a red carpet, for a date with Val, whatever it might be, I wash it with Modern Mammals. Feels clean, but looks perfect. It's almost like there is product in it, but it's not product. It's just leaving everything your hair needs to hold and have that sweet, sweet flow. I swear it's a game changer. This is one of the most no-brainer ways to support the show. Get it for a guy you know. Get it for yourself. modernmammals.com/weird. Change your shampoo game with a non-shampoo shampoo that gets your hair looking perfect. I swear by it. This isn't copy. This isn't just an ad. This is something that's changed my life for the better. modernmammals.com/weird. You can get a special combo deal. Try both products. The bar, which is a pH balance travel. It's almost like a bar of soap. It's a great, wonderful, light experience. And the bottle, which is a more traditional shampoo bottle, experience. The Magic Mud. $44 when you go to modernmammals.com/weird. We're also brought to us by our friends at LMNT, LMNT, for a year at least. Maybe it's almost years. For a long time, LMNT has replaced my morning cup of coffee. What is it? It's electrolytes. What does that mean? It's sodium, it's magnesium, and it's potassium. No BS, no sugar. It's sweetened with stevia, has amazing flavors like watermelon salt, orange salt, chocolate salt. These are three of my absolute favorites, and it's a way to jumpstart your day. Get that neural connectivity going, energize your brain, energize your body, and flood every cell with optimum hydration, fighting off cramps, brain fog, fatigue. We need to know this by now. Hydration isn't just water. It's about water and electrolytes. But for years, that meant drinking basically flat soda. If you're drinking like an energy athlete sports drink, you're drinking soda. It's like 30 grams of sugar. Even some of the newer ones out there that are packets, you add it. Look at the label, guys. It's like 30 grams of sugar. F that. Get LMNT. Sugar-free, caffeine-free, no BS hydration. It's a wonderful way to jumpstart my day. Feel that energy. I also do it after I work out, which again floods you with everything that you just sweated out, making you feel fantastic. And they now have cans. The black cherry lime is my favorite can flavor. It's always in my fridge. People are always grabbing them when they come over because they want to see what the buzz is about. And it makes them feel fantastic. So go to drinklmnt.com/weird and use promo code weird to get a free LMNT sample pack with any order, including the new LMNT Sparkling, which is a bold 16-ounce can of sparkling electrolyte water, which I absolutely love. They have a no questions asked refund policy. You don't even have to send it back. So you can get a free LMNT sample pack, which is like a $14 value, by going to drinklmnt.com/weird. drinklmnt.com/weird. All right, back to the show. So tell me about this God of your own design, and your journey with it. And it sounds like when you were in your drinking time, that was a disorder time.
Yes.
And by the way, I can agree with you and enjoy both Marin and Burr, but I know what you're talking about.
I just had to get away from that for a minute.
That's a deconstruction place.
Yes.
Bill's bit, and I say with full respect and admiration, he's absolutely one of the greatest comedians ever. Mm-hmm. He has that joke about watching a preacher, and he had this epiphany where he's like, it's just some guy.
Yeah.
He plays soccer. He's got a dick. And I was like, that is the cleanest cut of deconstruction. It's necessary.
Yeah.
But there's no reconstruction.
No.
Both of those guys are essential comrades in the foxhole of fuck you, I won't do what you tell me.
Right.
This is all bullshit. And they have their own ideologies.
But now you can kind of feel with Bill having a kid.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're painting with a pretty broad brush.
And like but it's almost like they don't want to show you that part.
Because they know, they know what they're, they know the tool that they are, and they're sledgehammers.
That's right.
Break the fucking,
and you need that,
and we need it, and it's a service, and I needed it. Mm-hmm. But I would say that there's very, very, very few. Richard Rohr is the essential voice, the kind hermit.
Yeah.
Just by the crossroads. He's not even telling you could go this way. He's like, I went that way. Huh? And but you're drawn to it. You can't help but go what is this person doing?
Yeah.
because maybe I'm done being angry.
Yeah, the Falling Upward book and
Yeah.
the idea of entering the second half of life and
Fucking A.
the fact that a lot of people are offered that opportunity
And
to
no one does it.
to,
sort of the
to
book.
fall, right?
Yes.
Or to allow yourself to die and to be reborn, for lack of a better phrase.
Yeah.
That a lot of people get those opportunities and they stiff arm them.
Of course.
And then you end up with,
Old children.
65-year-old adolescents who
Yeah.
have those deathbed revelations and enter the second half of life right before they die.
Right. Second half of life has nothing to do with the chronological time.
Right.
It's when you've been broken and rebuilt.
Right.
But like you have to like go into it.
Yeah.
A lot of people are wounded. Everybody's wounded, but like
Right.
to take the opportunity to be
Right.
humbled and
Right.
then really a better way to put it is to recognize, very programmy, but like take an inventory. Is this really me?
Yeah.
That's the question. And I'm not even talking about true self, false self, like
Yeah.
your soul.
Yeah.
What am I really? I'm saying like, who am I just psychologically speaking?
Right.
What can be taken away? What do I really want? What do
Right.
I really stand for?
Right.
Because we're talking about alcohol. That was like me being like, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
And status.
And what
that
am
was
I
the next thing
without
I was
it?
supposed to do.
Yeah.
Right. And then you go like, that's not wisdom.
No.
And I think of Richard Rohr as I'm at a at an average hotel. That these guys have been screaming at me. That's not the point.
Yeah.
And I've been going like, I know it's not the point. As I wipe off with a hot towel.
Yeah. I know that's not the point.
But then life
None
always
of these
gives
people
you.
know that's not the point.
That's right. These savages, these bloated billionaires.
Yeah.
Exactly. But one of the wonderful things, it keeps happening.
Yeah.
Like you keep getting another opportunity to prostrate yourself.
Well,
and
sure.
kinda-
And the other kind of so if that was the idea, right? The idea was, okay, well, now's your chance. You have an opportunity. You've hit a bottom. Is now the time that you're going to. And I'm not kidding. I was sitting in a coffee shop in the Village, and your episode with Richard Rohr came on. And
Like on your phone?
Yeah. And I sat there and I listened to the whole thing and went and got the book, read the book, and said, well, that's all well and good, but how do I do that? That's fine to say, this is what you need to do, or this is what would be helpful if you want XYZ. And so that began the searching to kind of cobble back together, to kind of trace my way back to a time before I handed over who I was to my coping mechanisms and to work my way back up from there. Because I grew up Methodist in the church every Sunday, like spending a lot of my young years in service to others and helping my community and all of these things. And so, yeah, it was a lot of different things. Stephen Mitchell's, The Gospel According to Jesus.
Crazy good.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And
That's one of those books I'm reading and I'm like,
and
you know how sometimes you're like, I can't believe I'm alive at the same time as you. I'm like,
That's right.
I can't believe I was born after this book was written.
That's
it's
right.
really one of those miracles.
And I boil it down. That was the instruction on the how. Okay, so now I know what, and that was the instruction on the how, and it boiled down to the way he kind of reinterpreted the golden rule, which was,
I don't remember this. Tell me.
So it's traditionally do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And then in that book, pretty sure, he says, but it would really be better written, do not do to others what you would not have them do to you.
Yeah.
And that changed everything.
Yeah. Right.
Because do unto others as you would what I want done to me.
Yeah,
Peter,
yeah. No, it's
is
true.
not necessarily what other people want done to them.
Yeah, I have the chills right now because I'm like, that's exactly right. It's like, I can only speak to my experience. That the golden rule often led to like a lot of phoniness. Like it led to a lot of like weird eye contact and smiling.
Yeah.
Very similar to the service industry, like going to a nice fancy hotel now. You go to the Four Seasons, they go like, hello, hello, Mr. Sullivan. But it's fake.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's what you're paying for.
Yeah.
But you
It's
get
what
that,
we deserve.
It's also what we deserve, I think.
Yeah.
But also like at the church, I'm talking about me.
Yeah.
That's what I would do to others because that was my interpretation of the golden rule. But really, it would be better to be like, I'm not gonna yell at you in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Because I don't like when people yell at me.
Yeah. It's just a better metric for behavior.
Yeah.
Because the first one is still self-centered.
Yeah.
And still
That's right.
ego-based.
Yeah. I just saw this morning, I saw an unironic What Would Jesus Do bumper sticker. It was just a throwback. And I remember thinking when I was unpacking it, when that was a huge movement, being like, sort of the arrogance that you would know what Jesus would do is like really...
Yeah. Because you've really got like 6 examples.
Yeah. And one of them's not great.
One of them's not good.
I forget what Stephen Mitchell writes about the temple and the whipping and
Dude, I had a buddy who used to lean on that all the time.
Well, Christian,
and it's just like
a lot of Christians, not all Christians, a lot of Christians love that. They're like, sometimes you got to go and flip over the tables, and I'm like, yeah. I don't know. I really don't know.
I mean,
that's one of those parts of the Bible that I'm like, how did Jesus feel afterwards? Is it possible that he was like, guys, I was triggered. Like, I'm sorry. Yeah. Like, it was not chill.
And maybe you get a little leeway to do that if you've lived your life all the other ways that he's living, which you're not.
Right. That's right.
You're just flipping tables all the time.
Right. That's
small ones and big ones. And
Well, it speaks to sort of the narcissism. There's a lot of narcissism happening in spirituality and in religion. And it's very like, what would Jesus do? That really points at it as like, I know.
Right.
And it's also like when you're naughty.
Sure.
Like that's a big one for me, is I'm like, just would you get over it?
Yeah.
Would you stop?
Yeah.
It's a real ego trip.
Yeah.
To be like, I'm the most wicked boy.
Yeah.
I downloaded a movie illegally or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
All right. So keep going. You were talking about finding Richard Rohr in the shop, and you listened to the whole thing. Then Gospel According to Jesus by Stephen Mitchell.
Yeah.
And then you started getting a sense of, well, what does that mean? I'm asking this in the fun way, not in the challenging.
No, it's just the
way.
beginning of the reorder.
Yeah.
Of figuring out, okay, you've been pretending to be a certain person for the last, let's say, 15 years.
Yeah.
And some of that is true. And some of it is bullshit.
This is so similar to what I'm doing with trauma work. It's like, what part of the part of me that liked to perform was really me?
Yeah.
And what part of it was a survival technique?
Yeah.
And it's really complicated.
Yes.
When the thing you love to do was also how you stayed sane and stayed safe.
Right.
Or created the illusion of safety in your youth. So how do you like extricate it?
Right.
And will it die? Will it survive the surgery?
Right.
If I trim away all the stuff that even to this day I'm doing to unconsciously keep the phantoms of my parents from attacking me. They never attack me. I'm just saying, like, in my unconscious.
I know what you mean.
Am I saying yes to? Am I auditioning for things because I'm like, otherwise Father will eat me? You know, like, am I?
Well, the idea being like, if we pick away too far, we won't even want to do this anymore.
That's right. Yeah, we want to keep the right amount of brokenness.
Right.
But I've had trauma people be like, no, there's a pure part when we were children that loved playing and loved creating, and we all had that, not just the broken.
Yeah.
The broken, we're compelled to follow it, maybe. Yeah. But we can get back in touch with that pure place.
It's okay to be a look at me.
It's okay to be a look at me. Who cares? What else are you going to look at? What else are you going to look at?
Or don't.
Or don't. Now we're look at me's or don't. But that's just a strategy to get more people to look.
Or whatever.
Or don't.
Yeah, like and subscribe.
Just doing a sweet jackknife off the high dive.
Or not. Watch this.
That's so true. Like and subscribe or don't.
Or don't.
Like that move?
Yeah. Just mash that button right down there or whatever.
Maybe that's why people I hope it's why people like these conversations with performers, is because like so much of us, even if you're not even close to being a professional performer, we're all trying to get to people to like and subscribe. Even if you don't have a YouTube channel, you're just like, will you like and subscribe?
Yeah.
What is getting married except liking and subscribing somebody?
For life. Lifetime subscription.
You can cancel it.
Well, you get a rebate.
It's in the fine.
You get a rebate if you join for life. It's cheaper if you go in for life, you know. It's
oh my God.
But it's yeah. I tried for a long time to convince people that I didn't care what people thought.
Yeah, but Who cares?
But I do.
Well, that's also what Val has helped me with, is just like, what's wrong with being a sweaty, hammy kid?
Yeah.
And even like,
Yeah.
I get a lot of mileage out of like Kramer moves the story forward. When Kramer goes like, "You're beautiful, you just need a nose job." Like he moves the story forward.
That's right.
There's no story without him.
That's right.
And it's hard in real time to love my own Kramerness, but sometimes I'm like, yeah, this type too.
Yeah.
It belongs.
Yeah.
Gets pretty boring.
I mean, there's that delicate balance of that person. It's usually a guy who says, "Well, I speak the truth."
Yeah.
No, you're an asshole. Like
I tried to do a bit about that too. I was like, as if you know the truth.
Yeah, exactly.
You mean you said your opinion?
Yeah, yeah.
Like you don't like my shirt? That's your
say
opinion.
it like it is.
Oh, so I call it like I see it. No, you are a tornado of everything you've ever read and been told, and you just spewed out a little sound bite.
Yeah.
You thought that was the truth?
Yeah.
I hate you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so it really came down, all of the listening, all of the going to bed with him every night, so that I could sleep, so that I could quiet my brain.
Yeah,
was eventually working a program, getting new tools to kind of work these things out. Essentially comes around to a life of gratitude and service.
Yeah.
And that is
it's one of the things I like about the program is you don't know what to do, just find an act of service to do.
Yeah, to anyone.
Yeah, to anyone.
To anyone.
Like walk your dog.
And to be grateful for what you have.
Yeah.
And it's like and that's where God lives. Someone, if in the Christian tradition is the only religion that says that your God is in you. All other gods are kind of outside of the person, and at least in my interpretation of things, like the life that we are meant to be emulating is someone who has both living inside him. And he is an instrument of both of those things, and of God and man.
Yeah. The merging of those two.
The merging of those two.
Yeah.
And if you can pick away all of the other things, the anxiety, the resentment, the fear, the embarrassment, the things that some would call defects, that there's something underneath that.
Right. Underneath the survival mind.
That is quiet and confident.
Yeah.
And grateful and helpful.
Yeah. And helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you heard me? You probably have. Everybody's Enya down low. Nobody's Metallica.
No, nobody.
I love Metallica. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, you calm anyone down.
Yeah.
Really calm them down. It's Enya down there.
Who can say where the road goes, where the day goes, only time.
You don't know this part?
Take it, Pete. I'll also throw Enigma in there. Remember Enigma? Yeah.
On what was the CD in the 90s? It was like Gothic chant or something.
Dis-moi.
We couldn't get enough of that when it was like this. Also from the 90s. Wise man say only fruit, and then you were waiting for it, and it's like wow. Why it sounded like Baby Yoda, I don't know.
Ukulele comes in.
I love it and I need it.
Yeah.
Selfishly, I want to know a little bit more about your acting. Is that okay?
Please.
You feel okay about that? What are you doing? How are you doing it? How are you acting so well? What is the advice that you got? What are you trying to do when you're acting? Just tell me a little bit about your theory, because you're splendid. And as I always say, acting is so strange, and it's so wonderful when someone can really do it, like dancing.
Yeah.
Really committing to it, but not looking like they're trying. It's very much like a dance, I think.
I mean, I think for years I was leaning on calculation and craft.
Yeah. But what is that? Like look at the left eye sort of thing?
I mean, those things, those types of things.
Yeah.
Educating myself as much as possible, just watching a lot of other actors, watching a lot of film, television, theater, all of those things.
Yeah. Who did you like?
Growing up?
Or now? Or
I mean, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Tom Hanks.
Do you have a wife?
All the Steppenwolf.
Do you have a wife?
Do you have a wife?
I'm gonna kill her. Do you know that story? What did John C. Reilly tell it on this podcast? I can't remember.
Oh,
John?
that's not what I sound like.
All right. One of the greats.
Do I sound like that?
Yeah.
It's the only guy that does an impression of me that's like not ridiculous.
I'm like, that's perfect. I
That's
just did
spot
a
on.
perfect
That was spot
impression.
on.
You'd be like,
That's not what I sound like. I'm like,
That's spot on.
right.
Do you want to give it a spot on?
It's not always right, but when it's right, it feels so good. But he told that story of being in a play with Phil Hoffman, and they would swap roles. It was
True West.
True
Yeah.
West.
Yeah.
Thank you. And every night he would be, upstage doing some action where he couldn't see Phil Hoffman.
Yeah.
And every night there'd be this huge laugh, and all that Phil Hoffman is doing, his character is toasting bread. Mm-hmm. Hear this huge laugh.
Yeah.
Finally, he asks someone, what is he doing? I want that laugh.
Yeah.
And he goes, somebody told him, he goes, every night he pushes down the toast, then he puts his hand over the toaster to make sure it's working. That's all he was doing. Huge laugh. So John C. Reilly is like, I can do that. Yeah. Pushes down the toast, puts his hand over, nothing. And what
Wreck-It Ralph.
and like Phil Hoffman was so out of his own way he did it.
That's it.
He actually was checking if the toaster was working. And human beings are fascinated by authentic human behavior, especially when they know it's a magic trick.
I think for a lot of years, I had gotten really good at appearing like an authentic human being.
Yeah, all right.
And using training or experience or, I mean, literally having 1,000 performances of pretending to be just a normal guy.
Yeah.
Who is telling you this 85-page monologue. Like that was the irony of doing that show.
Yeah.
Was like, a regular guy doesn't learn an 85-page monologue.
Totally.
A regular guy doesn't go out doing karaoke at night.
Right.
Right. And so to play a regular guy became an exercise in not pushing it too far and not actually revealing too much of myself, too much of my...
Yeah.
Because that's not a regular guy.
Right. Wow.
And it wasn't until my son was born and I went back to work on This Is Us that I was like, oh, now I get it.
Tell me why.
All of my priorities were rearranged.
Yeah.
And acting was way down the list.
Isn't that great?
It was fantastic.
It reminds me of breaking down that ego. It became something that you're
That's
doing
right.
and it wasn't your identity anymore.
That's right.
And then you could actually do it better.
Yeah, because acting is pointless, but arriving fully in each moment is an interesting pursuit.
Yeah.
And so if you can do that when the lights are on and people are yelling and the camera's 6 inches from your face and you haven't eaten and you were in a fight with your wife earlier and you can still just rest in the moment, figure out what the moment is supposed to look like or sound like or whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
And then just arrive as full as you can. And then that's it. And then when it's done, like you said, it's none of your business.
Yeah.
Everybody else can figure out if it means something, if it worked, if it didn't work.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, you'll do it again. And if it does, you're on to the next thing.
Yeah. I just watched, I'm putting this to you. I just watched myself in something that we shot, who knows, but it's coming out soon. And I was watching it and I was like, there were a couple times when I'm like, I scored. I did it. I did it. Perfect.
Yeah.
Nailed it. So happy. But I'm going to say 80% of the time I'm, touching my face like I can't, like this. And I'm going like, why are you doing so much?
That's me.
Why are you doing so much?
That's me.
And I know, Pete the bitch is so aware of like his hair, and he's like that was your concern.
Yeah.
I was like, you're on a date. Act like you're on a date, and I did, but like, I'm touching a glass and I'm like, I know I love that I'm rotating the glass and when I'm going to sip and I'm going nuts. I guess what I'm saying is I don't know if I've ever seen myself perform because I'm just incapable of
Well, it's not possible.
Yeah.
It's
and
not
every once in a
possible.
while, if you can go like, yes, but
and that's why, like, when I watch myself back, it is not to investigate the moment, but it is to investigate the calculation and the craft, where I can be like, okay, if you end up in this position again, don't fucking do that with your head.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't play.
Yeah.
That doesn't play the way you think it's playing. And like, let the acting or the emotional part of it be what it is. But there are still technical things when it comes to acting on camera that you need to know.
Yeah.
And you have to either do or not do.
Right.
And if you're not going to do them, you need to make it a choice.
You're not doing it.
And so there's certainly a lot of, like, I don't know what you call it, navel gazing going on when it comes to, like, for me, the actual logistical craft of it.
Yeah. But it sounds familiar to me. Sorry to keep bringing up trauma work, but it's what I'm going through. And like,
I've done mine.
I'd
been
love
through
to hear
a lot of trauma therapy.
Tons of it. I'd love to hear what your take is on this then. What you're saying to me, because that is what I'm watching. I'm watching my performance and I'm going, next time, just be careful of this angle. You know what I mean? I'm like, it's not just that it's not flattering, because actually my character wasn't supposed to be flattering or slick. And it's like, that's great. But it just kind of looked, it kind of broke the movie for a second.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I go, okay, don't do that. There's my golden rule. Don't do unto your scene partner.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then what that sounds like to me is hypervigilance, which sounds like what I was doing as a child. It's like these moves would lead to a better dinner. And it wouldn't work, but it was this endless experiment of like, and I honestly, I still do it when I go home. I'm like, maybe I'll be the entertainer at this meal. And then I'm like, mom and dad don't seem like they're into the entertainer.
Right.
I'll be the sweet boy.
Right.
Or whatever.
Yeah. Well,
but does that parallel there?
In your trauma work, I imagine you have discussed the fact that, we re-traumatize ourselves because we are trying to correct what we view as an error. Right. Like,
I haven't heard this.
We keep dating the same person over and over again.
That I knew I was doing. Yeah.
Like, because we're trying to that's how addiction becomes a thing, where it's like, well, that worked once. Why isn't it working now?
Wow.
I'll just keep trying.
So you date the person that mirrors how you were hurt because in a sense you thought that was normal or good?
Normal or good.
Yeah.
But you are also not, because here's the ironic part is that you do it, but you are not in a place where you're conscious of it and you're not willing to do the work.
Yeah.
Like my wife and I trigger each other perfectly. And the reason we found each other is because we have spiritual work to do together.
Right. Yeah.
And
that's very Ram Dass. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he was intricate and integral in me realizing that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's why it happens over and over and over and over and over and over again. Until you get it.
Yeah. Another fresh opportunity.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Like the whole don't pray for patience. You might end up in traffic. Like the whole.
Never heard that.
It's from The Cruise.
I love The Cruise. I was just thinking about The Cruise this morning.
Yeah, that's him. It was one of his quotes from that movie.
Timothy Speed-Levitch.
Timothy Speed-Levitch.
He did the show.
I know.
As you know. Yeah, of course.
I know.
Yeah. That was a wild one.
But if patience is really my growing edge right now with everything, with 2 kids and some downtime around my status. And
you mean currently in Hollywood?
Yeah. I mean, not being invited to the things.
Right.
The things I didn't want to go to when I was invited.
No. But we all want to be invited.
Just invite me.
I want to not go.
So I cannot go.
I actually was like, who was I deleting all of those premiere invites? By the way, that's not because I'm a fancy boy. I think you just get on certain lists and you're invited to premieres.
Sure.
People want that premiere to be full.
Sure.
And I'm just deleting them. And now I'm not saying I would go now, but like it's a different Hollywood.
No, but I now understand the purpose of going.
Yeah.
Of like showing up and having yourself photographed.
Yeah.
And having you be a part of
a thing,
the community.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of people I know they get their pictures, they don't go see the movie.
Yeah.
They just
That's kind of a bummer.
But you know what I mean? They submit to
as much as they need to.
This is part of work. This is part of work is staying present.
Yeah.
Reminding people that you exist.
Yeah.
I was trying to explain this to Rachel. Even after all this time, it's only finally starting to make sense, which we started this podcast and I've been trying to like do press for it. And Rachel was like, well, just why don't you go do some of those late night shows? And I was like, I don't just
call them,
do a late night show.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that you think of me as a famous person.
Yeah.
Like a big deal.
Yeah.
But I'm not getting on.
It's funny.
A late night show.
This is vulnerable, but one of the reasons I don't want to go to a premiere, this is gross. If you've been on a red carpet and they take your picture begrudgingly, it really hurts your feelings.
Yeah.
And I hate to admit that.
Yeah.
But I've been on a carpet. This was when Crashing was on.
Yeah.
At an HBO event.
Yeah.
And people didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
And then someone else comes up and you hear the flashbulbs.
Yeah.
You're like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like that's not healthy for me.
I was at an Emmys.
I mean, it's not healthy to play that game. You understand?
Yes.
So I'm just like, I got to opt out.
But it's the game. It's the game we're in.
Yeah, you're at the Emmys.
So how do we figure out how to play it? Like we can't opt out.
Yeah.
This is what I was trying to explain to Rach was like, I am a human being. I am an artist. I am also a business.
Yeah.
I literally am an LLC.
Yeah.
That has a certain number of followers, that has a value to people, that when a negotiation comes up for me to be in an episode of something, there is a number attached to that. That is an industry standard.
Yeah.
And being able to hold that and let that be what it is, while also
not identifying with it.
Not identifying with it.
Yeah.
And letting it slip through my fingers is really fucking hard.
You know that Ramdas story, just because you got Ramdas on my mind. There was this guy, he was the CFO of some huge company. He took acid. He dropped out, like he quit his job. Yeah. He went off into the woods. He danced with naked people and he just was super spiritual. Then one day he's walking. He's a hippie now. He's walking in Manhattan and he runs into a guy in a suit and he goes, this is crazy that I'm running into you. The person that had your job after you left just got fired and we've never had a better CFO than you. Would you consider coming back? Mm-hmm. So the hippie's like, after having this huge spiritual transformation, was like, sure. Yeah. Went back and somebody was like, but what is that like? You're literally the chief financial officer of a Fortune 500 company. Like, how unspiritual can you get? And the guy goes, I just hang out with people all day. And I was like, wow, that's a good one. So you can do what you're saying you do, LLC, but also just be with people.
Trying.
And just,
failing all the time.
Yeah, play the game.
And
you could even play the game of wiping your face with a hot towel and not own it. The fangs got in me when I was like,
sure,
I'm a special boy. I didn't even realize I was thinking that.
That's right.
But of course you are. Delta goes out of their way. The video, we got a different video up front. They go, you're a special boy, Mr. Holmes. Your dick is bigger. Your breath is fresher. My God, have you lost weight? Also, buckle your seatbelt, but don't worry. The pilot will hurl himself on your body if there's danger. Like the Secret Service.
Yeah. Like
Godspeed. Yeah, timely. Timely. Timely.
Oh, God.
Where were we?
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly where I am today, is 2 years out of being on a hit TV show.
Yeah.
Making movies, maybe doing some other TV stuff. Learning how to be a dad, really learning how to be patient and learning how to be present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
Feels good
stuff.
Feels
I
good.
like it. Yeah. I'm seeing
hydrated.
You're staying salty.
My beard's going to be hydrated later.
It's too late for the alpha brain, man.
It's too late.
I don't need you
late.
sharp for the rest of your day. I needed you sharp. You were wonderful. I feel totally great. Katie's got to leave in 5 minutes. So I think in 5 minutes we can
wrap it.
We can wrap it, but I can ask you, is there a favorite last question that you like? There's the lesser known. You ever poop your pants?
Yes.
There's you ever see a ghost? You ever see
Yes.
an alien? You ever almost die? And then always, what's the time you laugh the hardest?
Laugh the
in your
hardest.
life? So you can have your.
I've had
choice.
I've had 2 or 3 laugh the hardest, but you'll appreciate one of them the most. It was at I.O. in Chicago. I was just finishing my training there, and if anyone has seen an improv, if you haven't seen an improv set, there's a couple of doors, there's a couple of windows. It's a little bit like a laugh-in type set where people could pop out and make entrances and make exits, and there was a big doorway with a curtain that would go backstage upstairs in the upstairs theater, and there was this guy who I loved as an improviser, very funny, king of playing the overconfident character, like just my favorite character.
Yeah.
And he crossed his ankles, crossed his arms, and went to lean back on the wall super confidently, and thought he was 2 to 3 feet further down the wall, and was in fact standing in front of the open curtain, and fell back and disappeared from the stage.
Oh.
His head hit the wall. You could hear it hit the wall. And his feet,
the only thing that would make this better is a donk.
That's right.
Yeah.
The head went shunk, and his feet were sticking out from under the curtain.
Like a murder mystery.
For like 5 seconds. And we weren't sure if he had knocked himself out.
Yes.
And I don't know what happened. He stumbled back on stage, but I was sitting in the front row off to the side. I just finished a show, and I was on my hands and knees. On my hands and knees in the theater, and couldn't control myself. I had to crawl to the door and leave. I had to leave.
When laughs get you that good,
I couldn't.
It's like an act of nature.
I couldn't believe it.
I feel like I saw it.
I couldn't believe it. There's only one other time that I was on my hands and knees, caught off guard, and it was Harold and Kumar Escape Guantanamo Bay. A friend of mine and I were day drinking and smoking in Chicago. And we said, let's go to this theater and just whatever's playing next, we'll go see it. And it was Harold and Kumar Escape Guantanamo Bay. Classic. Movie.
Criterion Collection.
Movie's great. It's fine. We had a great time. We were laughing. It was fun.
Yeah.
But there's a scene where they get into an argument in the woods.
Of Guantanamo?
They've escaped Guantanamo. They have exited Guantanamo, and they're lost in the woods, and they're arguing. And one character gets so angry at the other that he kicks him in the crotch. Classic. It's not the kicking in the crotch that got me. It was the sound design, which was the foot hits the crotch and somebody cuts into like a fresh head of iceberg, right? and then a half a second after that, the sound editor put in a
little fart.
A little fart. Somebody got kicked in the crotch so hard that they farted a little.
Yeah.
And I was on my hands and knees in the aisle of the movie theater.
I just want, like, if I ran for comedy president, I would be like, I promise in my term, we'll find a way to liberate, like, good fart jokes. They're so hard.
They're very hard.
But one of my hardest laugh stories is they're always making Val laugh so hard that she farts. And, like... It's unbelievable. How could it be so unbelievable when it's happening and so stupid when it's recreated?
It's not represented in the media as much as it happens in real life.
Of course.
Is what we're saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yes.
It's a travesty, but it's cheap.
Yep.
Who cares? Cheap pizza?
It's the oldest
You see
joke.
the line at the 99-cent pizza shops?
That's right. It's the oldest joke in the world.
It probably is. A fart?
A little fart.
I would like when I die, if it's classic, defending your lifestyle thing, and they're like, you can go in the theater. Show me the supercut of the great farts.
Yeah.
Jesus squeaking out a couple. I mean, like it's happening. And the higher the status, the reason I picked the King of Kings. Oh God, you can't, or Martin Luther King Jr. There's farts happening. Like I want to see Martin Luther King Jr. give the "I Have a Dream" speech. That he goes backstage, he thinks he's alone. The room is dark, and he just And then he looks up and
he
someone's
goes,
in there.
oh.
And he's like, I'm so sorry. We can't do the voice.
A lot of pressure.
It's a fun voice.
It is a fun voice.
I'll do it to you on a voice memo one day. I'm just kidding. I don't have an MLK Jr.
Call my voicemail. It's my outgoing. Pete doing MLK Jr.
Strangely enough, I have a Martin Luther King Sr. impression that...
What?
No, I'm just kidding.
It's just older.
Yeah.
Just a deeper voice.
It's a deeper voice. It's and more mature.
That's right.
Thank you so much, man. This was a true delight. A
pleasure.
classic episode. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Loved it. Would you keep it crispy? Would you say it? Forgot how was the show.
Keep it crispy.
What was the voiceover you did? You did like a famous Geico.
Oh,
Would you
the
do
camel.
it as that? Would you do it as the camel?
Hey! Hey, Pete! Guess what day it is? Keep it crispy! Huh?
So your camel was just me? Hey!
I've been listening to the podcast a long time.
Let me say, I don't think it's me, but I aspire to be that.
That's right. Hey.
Oh, like just a good mood.
I think that's
It's the sound of a good mood.
Your new catchphrase when you walk out on stage. You just go, uh-oh.
Oh, that would be funny.
Drop a punchline. Uh-oh.
You telling me? Uh-oh. Uh-oh is a great hamburger.
I like it.
Thanks, pal.
Thank you, buddy.
You made it weird. You made it weird. You made it weird. Oh yeah. You made it weird. You made it weird. You made it weird. Oh yeah. You made it weird. You made it weird. You made it weird. Oh yeah. You made it weird. You made it weird.